Ow? Cool, well, now I'm on the brink of a heart attack and my ears don't work anymore. Merp, merp. Yeah, this warning screen would have been nice before Bucket Bob blasted a bass boost in my ear. He moves faster as the building gets warmer. The fuck does that mean? Oh, he feels uncomfortable because I turned up the thermostat and so is jump scaring me to turn it down? How does the building getting warm make him move faster? What I find funny about Bonnie's description is that it implies that he's more likely to attack when you look at him through the monitor, but the thing is, Bonnie can never kill you in this game. It says he becomes agitated, but that somehow translates to just making the monitor show static for a while, which his description never mentions. It's so weird that Chica's description says that she gets tired of the music playing, so you have to change the music, but then goes on to say that the global music box will also calm her down. Like, what's different about that? It's the same music, it's just now playing throughout the entire building. Shouldn't that piss her off more? Foxy's mechanic is weird as hell because he starts off fully put together in Pirate's Cove, but then once he escapes it, he enters your office piece by piece. How? But more importantly, why? Does he, like, toss parts of himself through your doors? Why not just attack you directly? How does he put himself back together to do so? Toy Freddy's mechanic is so silly, because why the hell am I at fault for him being shit at the game? Imagine if Scott Cawthon had to play Five Nights at Freddy's 4 Markiplier, and every time Mark gets jump scared, he shows up at Scott's house and screamed in his face. It's not Scott's fault, Mark! The more I think about it, the funnier Toy Bonnie and Toy Chica's mechanics are. Like, they can enter your office basically with no warning, can stare you in the goddamn face for a couple of seconds, but you just have to plop on a Freddy Fazbear mask and they're like, oh, what's up, Freddy? My bad. Okay, how can Withered Chica get stuck in the vent and then get herself unstuck? She looks pretty jammed in there. Withered Bonnie, much like his toy counterpart, gets fooled by your mask, but only if you put it on fast enough. Why is Toilet Face better at detecting mine compared to his newer version? Dude, if the marionette gets calmed down by the global music box, why do we even have a wind-up one? Isn't Golden Freddy the reason we're even here? Well, okay, if I want to be a douche about this, which when don't I, there's really nothing that explicitly confirms how or why we're here other than the one you should not have killed. But given that it's widely accepted that a spirit inside Golden Freddy is the reason we're here in the first place, how the f does he get tricked by us putting on the Freddy mask or leave us alone by just pulling up the monitor? Springtrap's mechanic is so bizarre to me the more I think about it. Like, it's kind of clever in that it reflects FNAF 3 in the way that he was mostly quiet and you had to actually find him in the cameras, but not relying on sound makes him one of the easier vent animatronics to fend off. Which is weird when you think about it, because Springtrap is still technically a human inside, right? And an adult one at that. So, the animatronics that are possessed by ghost children are more discreet than you? On the flip side of my argument though, are these real animatronics? Again, there's nothing that really explicitly confirms this, but it's heavily implied that this is some sort of afterlife that William Afton is having to endure, so it's possible that these animatronics are just demons or ghosts or whatever supernatural entity that causes him a tremendous amount of pain. But that being the case, why can't the phantom animatronics hurt us? In FNAF 3, it made sense why they couldn't. They were merely hallucinations. They weren't actually there. But here, what makes the phantom animatronics any less real than the rest of them? In fact, the nightmare animatronics sort of support my argument. Some of their game over dialogue implies that they're no longer just illusions and that they're now given flesh. But why just them? Why not the phantom animatronics too? The plush animatronics are especially weird to me. Like, all you have to do is show how devoted to them you are by buying merchandise of them and they'll leave you alone for the rest of the night. Also, none of them can be stopped by the doors, so why not just teleport to my office from the beginning? Why bother showing up in the hallways? I know I'm basically questioning the logic behind a fiery ghost robot chicken, but how can Jacko Chica appear on both sides of your office at the same time, and how come no one else can do that? Ennard's unique property of being difficult to see on the vent radar is so funny to me, because there is no circumstance during normal play where you'd be looking at the vent radar. Trash in the Gang's description being unknown makes no sense, considering that you could literally just describe them as distracting the player by briefly obscuring their view and playing an obnoxiously loud noise, but I guess that's not as funny as 3 question marks. Also, getting rid of my main man pants stand is nothing short of tragic. Also, why are you called Trash and the Gang? I get it, you're made out of trash and you are a gang, but you're not the Trash Gang. None of you is named Trash. Mr. Can Do is a trash can. Is his first name Trash? Trash Can Do? Rockstar Freddy's toll of 5 fast coins is strange because what does he need the coins for? We need them to shut him off and to buy plushies or the death coin, but why does he want them at all? If this is how he behaves in the real world, this is a scam, because you give him the coins and then he just does nothing. Rockstar Bonnie's behavior is also really funny when you think about it, because he loses his own guitar, goes to the office to make you look for it like a goddamn lost and found, and if you can't find it fast enough, he calls your manager, kills you. Rockstar Chica's mechanic is fucking hilarious. She's a giant robot that could rip off my face with just her mouth, but her biggest weakness is a wet floor sign. The floor could be drier than toasted toast on sandy bleached hair, but even the thought of the floor being wet is enough to drive her off. You could probably scream, "Cuidado, piso mojado," and she'd run for the presumably dry hills. If you select the right animatronics, you can get upwards of 2,200 points for doing literally nothing. And since the intermissions are unlocked every 700 points, you can get 3 cutscenes as well as unlock the sister location office for basically not even playing the game. It's not even a secret that the Japanese dialogue during the Bear of Revenge intermissions isn't accurate to the subtitles presented to us. For one, the pacing is completely off. The subtitles will change despite the dialogue continuing. For two, anyone who has watched any episode of any anime ever knows that the personal pronouns watashi and anata mean I and you respectively. And when Freddy and Foxy are throwing around watashi was and anata knows left, right, and center, you really get a sense that what they're saying may not be what you're reading. For 3, there are a bunch of words that are in the spoken dialogue that are garaigo, or loan words from English, such as cornflakes and video games, and the most egregious one, potato chips. There is not one mention of a potato chip in the subtitles, and though I may not be an expert, I'm sure that there are not many words in Japanese that sound like the words potato chip. And one has to wonder why in the mother of Michael Afton did Scott craft this entire separate story when it's all mostly gibberish. The most I can extrapolate from it is that it's a story about Scott not having a point to this whole story and how much bullshit he has to deal with day in and day out, tricking people who look too deep into stuff like this. At least that's what I think the allegory is. And as if that weren't bad enough, figuring that out isn't easy because the lines of dialogue are cut up and randomized, meaning that there's not a concise order to what they're saying, on top of not making any goddamn sense. King Dee. This affront to nature will increase the AI level of any of the animatronics you're currently dealing with, or worse, add an animatronic on top of the ones trying to get to you. And the only way to know which one she added is to either check the cameras or wait for something to happen in the office, which can be pretty devastating the further you get into the game. And I just found this out, but apparently Dee also has a chance to try and set an animatronic's AI level to lower than what it currently is, which will have no effect. Why even bother showing up then? Mangle sucks, dude. Once he's in the office, she will not ever leave, and even though the amount of noise they contribute is minimal, it's still usually enough to alert audio-sensitive animatronics. Based on the number of stars on the US flag, it's safe to assume that the events of Toy Chica the high school years take place somewhere after April 30th, 1812 to before December 11th, 1816. But that's impossible because metal lockers in this style weren't produced until 1924. So which is it, Ultimate Custom Night? Phone Guy is such a nuisance. I will say, Mangle's worse because they stay in your office basically for the rest of the night, but with Phone Guy, it is completely dependent on which audio you get. He could talk for a little bit, or never shut the f up. At least with Mangle, you know not to get your hopes up, but with Phone Guy, you will be screaming at your screen for him to stop talking. Al Chip's ads never seemed like they were that big of a hindrance to me at first, but on higher difficulties they suck because I have to scramble to move my mouse over the skip button while not being able to see anything else that needs my attention. But Chari, you silly bitch, I hear you clamor. Why don't you just hit the enter key? That closes the ad too. And you're right, I did do that a number of times, but it's the only button on the right side of my keyboard and my right hand is already busy controlling the mouse. My options are either find the skip button manually, wasting precious time trying to find it, use your right hand to hit enter and miss it on the way, or bump your mouse to somewhere else on the screen you didn't want to be on the way back, or keep controlling the mouse but forego the rest of your controls trying to hit the enter button with your left hand. And that's what I call a lose-lose-lose situation.
Yarg.
Wait, where'd Pirate Foxy come from? Does he just chill behind my desk, out of sight until I click his bird? So when you start a round, there's a random chance that you'll be playing in a different office. It's really cool when you don't have any of them unlocked because it gives you a chance to experience them beforehand, a taste, a sneak preview. It's a lot less cool when you have all the offices unlocked, want to plan a particular one for strategic reasons, and you're hit with a different office than the one you specifically chose. Who the hell is this guy? Apparently he's a character from the books? You had so many other male characters from the actual game canon, ones that are in this game, and you chose to show a character that people who are only familiar with the games wouldn't recognize?
I told him that someone ran over his dog in front of my house.
Wait, he's a wolf that owns a dog? That's kind of fucked up. Or is it a Bizarro, Goofy, and Pluto situation where one's just more anthropomorphic than the other?
But once he's there, I'll entice him with warm cookies, lure him inside. I mean, invite him inside.
Why would you need to correct yourself? This is your diary. No one can hear your thoughts. Old Friends is the worst preset in this game. You have to deal with the Marionette, Chica, Foxy, and Toy Freddy, who each bring their own flavor of garbage to this game. Any one of them on their own is bad enough, and truth be told, there aren't many animatronics on this preset, but those four put together makes this a nightmare to deal with. Nightmarion can go f*** itself. There were so many times that the bastard just spawned where my mouse was at the beginning of the round, jump scaring me almost instantly, giving me zero time to react. And when there are multiple things happening on screen, it's hard not to have your cursor on one of the many places it can randomly spawn. I get that this is meant to be a metaphor for something else in the series. In fact, my money's on Freddy representing the crying child, Fox representing Michael, and Mangle representing Elizabeth. But in universe, why would Freddy agree to this humiliating punishment? Here's a thought, and I could be completely wrong about this. Do they keep reassigning students to sit in front of Choi Chica in biology class? Because clearly every time that happens, that student goes missing. Is FNAF High just oblivious to that?
I told him that my house was on fire. But once he's there, I'll tell him that I threw myself on the flames to put them out.
Whoa, wait, why would he go to your house if it was on fire in the first place? Also, why would he believe that you threw yourself on the entire house? Get it? One he can hardly bear. Okay.
I told him that I've taken several live hostages at my house. But once he's there, I'll tell him that I let them go because I love him. He'll fall for me immediately. And once I have him, he'll be mine forever. There is only one thing that could possibly go wrong.
What? That he thinks you're f***ing nuts for having hostages in the first place? Oh. Maybe the thing with the wolf and his dog was more messed up than I thought it was.
I told him to come over later. That should be enough. And if he doesn't show up, I'll just go to his house. And if he doesn't open the door, I'll just find a window. Chimney's always an option. Or I could set the house on fire and wait for him to run out. Then he could run into my arms. There is only one thing that could possibly go wrong.
By the sound of your plan this time around, it sounds like multiple different things can go wrong. Okay, imagine if Trash and the Gang didn't go away right after jump scaring you and blocking your entire screen. That's what the mini arenas are like. Oh. Well, that was sudden.
I'll just wait for him after school, throw a bag over his head, hit him with a shovel, and drag him into the back of my car. Then, when he wakes up, I'll tell him that someone was trying to kidnap and kill him. I don't know, Balloon Boy maybe. And then I'll tell him that I rescued him.
You know, not that I endorse what Toy Chica's doing, but why does she keep upping the ante when it comes to killing these guys? She hasn't been caught yet. What's stopping her from just repeating the earlier, safer plan to lure them? Full disclosure, I never actually beat 50-20 mode, but I did beat the challenge before it, the one that nets you 9,100 points in the last Toy Chica intermission, and if there was anything I learned from my time playing this game, it's that at this level of difficulty, victories unfortunately come down to luck. After about a minute into the night, the only camera that should appear when you flip up the monitor is Cam 2, and the only reason the monitor should be up is so that you can reset the ventilation. You gotta hope that Toy Freddy doesn't show up, that Chica doesn't show up, that Rockstar Bonnie doesn't appear in your office after a cam flip, that enough Faz coins spawn in the cameras when you need them to, that you have enough time to deal with 3 different things if L-Chip, Old Man Consequences, and Phone Guy all happen to spawn during the same interval. And that's to say nothing of if Dee Dee spawns in another animatronic. Most of this game, I would agree, is purely skill-based, and I am 100% convinced that I am better at multitasking because of this game, but what it asks you to do sometimes is unreasonable, not just because of how many things can happen on screen and how many things you need to manage, but because of how immediately you have to react to all those different things at once, lest you restart the night. And that's to say nothing of the things that do require skill, because it's frankly overwhelming. You need to manage your temperature, the noise, your power, the music box, which of the 4 openings to your office you have open and which are closed, making sure that Bonnie's on your desk and not Foxy, making sure you don't accidentally flip the camera before closing the left door and front vent, shining a light on Phantom Freddy while making sure not to shine it on Nightmare Beepy if he's asleep, paying attention to when Funtime Foxy's show starts, which makes him impossible to deal with while dealing with the plush animatronics, reacting quickly enough so that Afton doesn't get you, don't go too long without resetting the ventilation because then you can't see anything. And on top of all that, be mindful of where your cursor is because Nightmarion can spawn on top of it and you need to move immediately without messing up any of your other tasks.
Dear Diary, things didn't work out as I'd hoped, and once again I'm left with nothing but a broken heart. But tomorrow is another day, and I just know that there's a guy out there that's right for me.
Presumably, the one thing that could go wrong that she talked about in every intermission was the same one thing, right? Well, what was it? We never find out what went wrong with her ultimate plan, because it always seemed like she got what she wanted, right? On 50/20 mode, you're pretty much guaranteed to encounter Zor, a shadow deity that summons all 6 of the non-selectable animatronics, even if you're using a deity repellent. Rick Fishfashik turns your whole office black for 10 seconds, making things that are already hard to see even harder. Plush Trap shows up on the same camera as Funtime Foxy, so you gotta book it to scare him away so he doesn't jump scare you. Nightmare Chica slowly tries to bite your head unless you turn on the power AC. You got a boop bonnet on her nose when she shows up, quickly pacing from the right to the left side of the screen. The mini-arenas I already explained, and LOLbit obscures your screen, makes your office mega loud, and locks your doors and monitor until you type LOL on your keyboard. And the worst part of it all is, because you can't select those animatronics, you would have no idea how they work. Rick Fishfashik and the mini-arenas you can't really do anything against. Plush Trap you have to find before you're unable to go to any other camera. Bonnet and LOLbit you would know how to deal with because of sister location if you've played or seen someone play it before, but Nightmare Chica's mechanic is entirely unique, requiring you to use a power AC for something other than cooling down the office faster. So how in the f*** are you supposed to know to do that? This game has a glitch where multiple audio clips can play at the same time, causing one of them to go silent, which is most noticeable during the end of the night when the high score music is the one muted and you're treated to ominously silent fireworks. Makes it a little awkward just seeing that number go up with no fanfare, if I'm being perfectly honest. Speaking of ominous, the last cutscene you can get in this game is of Golden Freddy creepily twitching in a black void, slowly fading out further away from the camera, and... dude, in what universe is this worth it as a completion reward? There's nothing satisfying about it, nothing new, nothing learned or gained, just time wasted trying to beat the ultimate challenge in this game. Warning, I'm going to be talking about the game over dialogue from here on, which will usually be accompanied by a jump scare, and there's Freddy. I find it particularly odd that he, of all characters, doesn't have spoken dialogue in this game, instead just playing Votre étrange je peux vous le rendre, when in the first game he has a voice. I mean, as an animatronic, it's weird that he can audibly laugh, but isn't capable of speech.
Arr, I came for ye booty. That be treasure, you know.
Well, I'm glad you think so, and I appreciate the compliment, Foxy, but you leave my ass alone.
It's not my fault. I have these fat plastic fingers and can't press with buttons.
Hey, it me.
If I get jump scared, you get jump scared.
Is it me? Or does Toy Freddy sound like a lower-pitched Bentley the Turtle?
If I get jump scared, you get jump scared.
Why can all of the toy animatronics talk except for Toy Bonnie?
Let's go somewhere more private, so I can eat you.
Yeah, no, sorry, that last part did not make that sentence any less suggestive. And you know what I just realized? The withered animatronics can talk, but not the restored versions from FNAF 1. Why would they have gotten rid of their ability to talk?
The others are like animals, but I am very aware.
See, you say that, Charlie, but you get sued with the music box. You're not any better than the rest of them. Scary. I know that he didn't talk in FNAF 3, but it doesn't exactly make sense that he can't. It's not like his mouth is restricted inside the Springlock suit, right? Why can Afton talk but not Springtrap? And again, Nightmare Bonnie and Nightmare Chica don't have any dialogue either, despite the rest of them being able to talk when they couldn't before.
He just looked at me and he said, well, you said you had a story, and, you know, he was quite right. I did, in fact. I told him I had a story. I suppose if a person just wants to talk, then it's best to not announce that you're telling a story. Telling a story does come with its own pressures and expectations, I suppose. After all, if you're just talking to a friend and there's no more expectations than if you were talking into the wind. Words by themselves aren't expected to carry, aren't expected to stick. But if you announce you're telling a story, well then, there'd better be a point to it all, No one wants to sit and listen to someone ramble on and on and on with absolutely no end in sight.
It always astonishes me how often Scott practically spells it out that he had no goddamn idea what he was doing when it came to this series of story, and yet everyone and their grandma insists that there isn't a thing he does that isn't narratively intentional.
Orville, I have a story, and he said to me, "What's the significance of the story?" And I said to him, "Orville, not every story has to have significance, Sometimes, sometimes a story is just a story. If you try to read into every little thing and find meaning in everything anyone says, you'll just drive yourself crazy. I had a friend do it once. Wasn't pretty. We talked about it for years. And not only that, but you'll likely end up believing something you shouldn't believe and thinking something you shouldn't think, or assuming something you shouldn't assume,
Well, Mr. Hippo, all of that could have been avoided if the stories just had concrete answers instead of leaving elements of them open to interpretation for years. Not all the stories need to be significant, I agree, but when some of them are and most of them aren't, you can kind of understand the frustration.
You may be asking yourself, how did I go from sitting by the falls and drinking lemonade to being wedged in the air duct? Not only with Orville, but with an entire assortment of fruity-colored friends. Well, there's really no good answer to that, but perhaps I met a demise of my own at some point, and this is my afterlife or my dream, whatever it might mean. I honestly don't know. Or maybe it doesn't mean anything at all. Maybe it doesn't mean anything at all.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but, you were the one who designed this series' narrative! These games didn't need to have a story. You never needed to continue the story just because people were theorizing. By FNAF 3, you kinda shot yourself in the foot, and by now, you can't not expect people to expect a continuity from these games. Molten Freddy is the weirdest one, though. He's a character that was practically known for his dialogue in Pizzeria Simulator, and even before as Funtime Freddy in Sister Location. But in this game, all he does is laugh with no new dialogue. And that's something weird about Afton, too. Like, yeah, the aforementioned he talks but Springtrap doesn't thing, but he also seems to be nimbler? Like, Springtrap will wait in the vent for you to check your monitor or until Phantom Freddy screams at you, but Afton just fucking goes for it. And I get that this is meant to be William's personal hell, but the rest of the animatronics seem to have a personal vendetta against him, rightfully so. Why do we also have to deal with two other versions of himself? What in the Kingdom Hearts is going on? You're William Afton, and you're William Afton, and I'm William Afton!
It will all be over soon.
And now Lefty can talk? Does talk? What are the rules, damn it? Fredbear's jump scare is a bit of an Easter egg that involves buying and using the death coin on Golden Freddy when he appears in the office, and I was surprised that not only does he have dialogue, but he has 4 different lines. I just wish I could understand them. They are way too garbled to reasonably understand without reverse engineering the audio to make it intelligible.
Unfortunate.
Hey everyone, CharI5 here. Thanks so much for watching my CinemaSins pastiche of everything wrong with Ultimate Custom Night. This one took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. It was a very daunting task. I was really intimidated to do it, and I think that that's partly why it took so long to get done. Sorry about no 50/20 mode. I am just as disappointed as you guys. Question of the video: what animatronic do you think is the hardest to deal with in this game? I had a couple, but I think that for me, the one that gave me the most, the one that made me the angriest was Nightmarium, but I think the one that, weirdly enough, gave me the most trouble was Nightmare BB, and it was just because I always sort of took him for granted, and I didn't really pay attention to whether or not he was standing or sitting, so he would always get me when I would least expect it. Despite, like, I could be doing everything right, and he would be the one thing that, like, just destroyed my run every single time. Thank you so much to CinemaSins. You know, go check their stuff out. They also have sister channels that cover music videos, brands, and other topics. Thank you to the patrons and members. On screen, you're seeing the names of the beautiful people, the wonderful, amazing human beings that contribute monthly to this channel, with whom I am able to continue to make content for you guys month after month. If you would like to be a part of them, you can either check the link in the description or hit that join button down there underneath this video. But until next time, you guys stay safe, stay awesome, as always. I am Char5, signing off. What are you waiting for? Click it. I can't. You know we need to eventually. You can't just spend all your time not checking how we're doing. I know. You know it's irresponsible to not do it. I can't. I don't want to. I know you're afraid, but we gotta do it anyway. I know. Just click it!